Space, it's just so vast, so much to do, so much to see. So why not start with commandeering a sentient ship and blowing bits to fuck? Hey howdy hey, I'm Shaun and I'm joined by Duncan.
Hello there.
For the Gamers Watch review of Chorus. So Chorus is a space combat game developed by Fish Labs and published by Deep Silver. It actually released in December of 2021, but has just recently come to Game Pass, so it's the first time we're really getting to play it. You play as Nara, and you control your sentient ship Forsaken as you work together to defeat the Circle, which is an oppressive cult led by the Great Prophet. I guess we'll start with gameplay, the most important part of games. Gameplay. How did you find the spacey combatness?
It's taken me a long while to get into it, but when it properly clicks, it feels like a proper video game. I really love a game that makes you feel cool. I said it before, maybe like Burnout 3, like when you're kind of properly in the zone. I think probably set my stall early in the review. I think it's probably one of the best ever space combat games by a long shot. I mean, you hear people mention about the drift mechanic, which is when you nail it, I can't think of a game that makes you feel as cool as it does. Especially if you're taking out like a dreadnought kind of ship. Like I forget what they're called, demon class ship, I think. And you're whipping along almost in like a mini trench run and blowing up generators, and then drifting around and going back through again, and kind of you can imagine the way, almost like, I don't know, fucking like Red One, like from Star Wars, kind of just like cutting through. But yeah, what did you think?
It's gameplay wise, it's my favorite space combat game I think I've ever played. Everything just flows really well, like the rights or the abilities, like you said with drift, and I can't remember what they're called, but the one where you can warp basically directly behind a target, and like chaining different ones, and then also switching between your like Gatling gun, laser, and missile to take out different ones. When it all flows together, it's so good. Like there's no other space combat game like it. It's pretty much the Star Wars space combat game I've always wanted.
Yeah,
in a Chorus. It's
funny because as I've been playing it, because I think the last space combat I played was Rogue Squadrons, I think it was called, and I got a bit. I never completed it because I remember getting a bit just bored of like the constant having to change where your power, if it goes kind of your shields or your speed or whatever, or your weapons. But this kind of when you started to get the right, so I can't remember, you get the right of storms, I think, where it's like it knocks out shields, and then the jump, and then the dash, etc. Initially I was like, I don't know, it feels like I'm gonna get really complicated really quickly, and never once did I feel like overwhelmed with the options available to me. It more just felt like wicked, just another thing for me to kill stuff with, and almost got like quite excited about, okay, well how can I use this in the next fight. But yeah, superb. And then like we said, when you figure out the drift and you get it going, it always reminded me of The Force Awakens. Not that anyone needs to be reminded of the sequel Star Wars films, but it's a bit kind of like when they get the Millennium Falcon, and they basically do like a handbrake turn in that, and it looks really cool. But then you just do it constantly in Chorus, and it just. Yes, it's so good. I've been playing it this afternoon. My eyes feel like they're going to fucking bleed because I haven't blinked for like 2 hours.
Yeah, I think my favourite thing to do, I didn't use drift that much in like dogfights with other similar sized ships, but with those capital ships, like you're saying about, which are basically like mini bosses throughout the game, drifting, going around the outside of one and then drifting behind them to take out each like thruster in one swoop.
It's so cool.
Satisfying.
And I just upgraded my missiles to like level 5, I think. So it's like a cluster. So I mean, I don't want to kind of give any spoilers near the end of the game, but there's loads of these kind of ships there. But the way it is now, basically kind of like drifting around the back of one of these ships, just like and bursting through. So you kind of, the mechanic is that like left trigger is like you boost. So we kind of like drifting to like turn my nose towards the ship, and then boosting like through. But as I'm doing it, I'm just flinging off all these rockets, and I'm just kind of exploding to the other side in a fireball. It's just really cool. It's so cool. I mean, the only thing I don't like about the gameplay is that the tight like corridor kind of sections. I feel like they just slow it down a little bit too much, and I don't, maybe it's me and just like my poor skill. But I feel like more often than not, it felt like I was playing F-Zero or doing like Rainbow Road in Mario Kart, where I was just constantly just like bouncing off the side and pinballing my way through. When the arenas open up, it's amazing. I don't think it works especially well internally, but there tends to be more like story segments anyway.
Yeah, it's usually just the temples, isn't it, where you actually unlock new abilities.
Yeah,
and there'll be a little escape sort of section, but it can be quite finicky. I did struggle using drift in those tight areas, doing the like doors where you have to knock out the different like control things in a set amount of time, otherwise they reset.
I don't like time pressures in games anyway, but I know exactly what you mean. Every time they came up, I was like, oh, fuck's sake, because it almost felt like it just felt almost a bit more like a puzzle. I was like, okay, well, I almost had to kind of plan like three or four moves ahead to get all the way around. Like say it was like a circle, but there's a few later on where they're kind of there's like only 3, and you kind of line yourself up for the first one, so then you know where to hit the others. But no, I'll agree with you. Yeah. They weren't my favourite bits.
No, but to touch on what you said as well a few minutes ago, with the upgrading your missiles, the way that upgrades the majority of upgrades are handled in this game is one of my favorite ways, like that games can do it, where you improve stuff you already have in your abilities and that through completing almost like objectives or missions based on that actual item. I always find it makes me use something more if I know the only way to level it up is by using it and like getting good with it. And obviously your abilities, guns, so your laser, your missile, your Gatling gun, all can be like leveled up through sort of destroying so many ships using that ability, or like I think one of them is like disabling so many shields, or disabling a shield which causes the ship to crash and like explode.
Yeah,
but I find it's a lot more engaging, and I usually try out more of the abilities that way when a game forces you to use the ability to be able to level it up, rather than being like spend the points, spend the coins.
Yeah, it all feels like quite like natural. There was never one system for me that felt like really out of place, or like I just had to put a point in something just because I had a point to spare. Everything felt like quite considered on how it fits in with the combat, rather than it being like, it's a big mega gun of death. Like there was no one thing that you would use all the time. So you've got like the Gatling gun, just like your standard gun, but then that's not going to see you through to the end of the game. So you have to learn how to take out shields, and then you have to learn kind of when to use like the cluster rockets, for example. I think it does a really good job of making you use all the tools, your example, rather than just defaulting onto one of them, which I think really helps. Kind of, I've been really, really properly engaged with it, because I've been really struggling recently to find a game that I've like really like deeply been like engrossed by, and it's taken me a while to get into this, which we'll go through a bit later on. But when kind of all the cylinders are firing on it, it's one of the only games that in recent memory where I've just been so like, this is brilliant. As I'm playing it, well, I'm almost wanting it to end now. I'm right at the last boss. But I just kind of, I'd be like, oh, bum, because I'd love to play more of it, for sure.
Yeah. There's I can't remember, because I finished it a little while ago now, at the time of recording. I can't remember if you can go back through it after, because obviously it's one of the other like main sort of pillars, I guess, behind the gameplay is that it is semi-open world. So it's like there's multiple areas, but each area is big enough to technically be its own like little open world.
Yeah.
And again, that was another thing that I thought was designed really well. Like I never felt like I was just traveling for the sake of traveling, which is something that I can easily find myself doing in open world games. It was very much you'd wander through one world. There's missions all over the place in each area, and I never felt like I was just being told to go a long distance because it would pad out the gameplay a bit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There is sort of in towards the final act. There's maybe like a couple of missions in a row, just because they happen in different areas where I was like, oh, I can't fucking try. I've just been there. I want to travel back there.
Yeah.
But on a whole, I thought the open world aspect as well was really good. I didn't get find it getting tedious at all, any area, because I'd just find another mission and be like, oh, more dogfights for me then, I guess.
Yeah, and even I've only twigged close to the end of the game that you can like fast travel. So you have to go to also the warp points, go to a different system. But I was having every time I've had such a nice time just flying to places. I mean, in a certain space, you haven't got loads of things to look at, but it just it just feels nice to fly. And then I love the way side quests are done, because I think you can pinpoint them on a map and then go to them and do them if you want. So, for example, I've just started playing Watch Dogs Legion. Typical Ubisoft game. You look at your map and there's 15 side quests immediately shoved down your throat, and it's like, okay, we'll complete these 5 things and then get this next thing. But on this, the side quest is just really kind of nice and organic, where you might be flying somewhere and then there'll be refugee ships getting attacked, and then Nara will say they need my help, and then it just really organically feels like, oh, that's part of your journey, right? Rather than going out of my way to save this person, it's just there. But it was on my natural route to the next objective, and it feels like just like a really, really well thought out, like, organic way of doing side quests.
Yeah, it was. It also padded out the story. Well, helped tell a bit of the backstory, which brings me on to the story. Do you know what the fuck was going on for most of the story? Because I don't. I thought I had a little grip of like the main overview, sort of midway through the game, and then more stuff happened towards the end to the point where I was like, I'm lost again. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think this may be one of the only negatives with it. So I don't want to spoil it, because someone might play and think, oh, this is a great story. And I think it's a good story. I'm not convinced the way it's delivered was great. So basically, like you find like memories of what's happened. So there's a big mystery about your character. And as you go through, you find these memories dotted about that. It's like almost like a flashback kind of thing. And that delivers a bit of exposition, and only maybe kind of 10 or 15 seconds. But I find they were so kind of like so spaced out and far apart. I found it quite difficult to really just follow exactly what was going on. Like I've got a rough gist of it, and I feel like I've got a bit of like the Halo syndrome with it, where like I know this is quite cool, but I don't exactly know why. And I've always found out with Halo, I've really struggled to follow what the story was, and I've got this as well. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the thing that you had.
Yeah, it feels like there's a really good universe sort of within this story, but it falls a bit short of being able to tell it, sort of thing. So like one of my favorite parts of the story that I think I've got a grasp on was sort of the origins of Forsaken, the sentient ship. Like there's again, without spoiling it, there's a side mission that goes into some like explanation that I just thought was really cool. A really cool origin story for your sentient ship. But yeah, I think it's one of the things it stumbles on, which I touched on another game a few months ago, I think, was it creates its own like lore or like its own words, but then doesn't explain what those words are. So they'll just keep bringing up these words, and you're like, don't know what that. I don't know what that is. What is that?
Yeah.
What is chorus?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, I thought I understood what chorus meant, and then something happened. I was like, oh, it turns out I was completely wrong, and I'm none the fucking wiser at this point. Like, but I'm sure it'd be cool. It does feel like a bit like I'd have to just read a wiki after I finished it, just to be like, oh right, okay, that's what that meant. But yeah, I do really like, as part of the story, the relationship that's built between Nara and her ship, especially towards the end of it. Almost comes a bit of like a symbiotic relationship, which I thought was really cool. It reminded me a lot of is it BT in Titanfall 2? I think that's what your thing was called. It reminded me a lot of that. And it sounds like the guy who does Master Chief's voice. I don't know if you thought that at all. It did have that kind of like John Gravelly. Yeah,
he sounded familiar to me, but I couldn't sort of pinpoint what voice it was I was listening to. But he did have a very recognisable sort of voice.
But I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really really strong part. That relationship building between the two. It kind of feels like a bit of a retread of Titanfall in a way, but I'm not complaining because I enjoyed both.
So you said about the sort of relationship between them and how towards the end, obviously they start not communicating with each other, but like the way they're talking during combat is as if they're sort of like doing the whole finishing each other's sentences sort of thing. They're becoming one. So I guess that will lead us nicely onto like the sound, graphics, aesthetics of it, which again I thought was really, really good. My favourite part, that again is another aspect I think they nailed, graphics wise or just like aesthetics wise, is the sort of tight space areas that then suddenly open up into like just a scenery in front of you. Like there was multiple times in each area where I'd be flying along, sort of weaving in and out of asteroids or whatever, and then it would just open up into this like big area, and I'd literally stop flying and just look at everything and be like, that's cool. Like that. Yeah,
it's definitely a photo mode game, because I found myself, especially where I am at the minute, just taking loads of fucking photos because it looks incredible. And like performance wise, which goes into graphics, like I haven't noticed one glitch like graphically or anything, considering the speed that it goes at and the amount of stuff flying around on screen. I haven't seen like one frame rate drop or anything. Like it runs impeccably. I mean, I did have one weird kind of performance bug earlier where I had like this video card error. It said my Xbox didn't have enough video memory. I was like, oh, do you mind? But that was literally the only thing, and it reloaded and I got past it. I think my only kind of tiny gripe, and it's a real petty thing to pick up on. I wish the music was a bit more of a beat to it. I feel maybe it's just me thinking I'm a little teenage boy watching a Matrix again, but like I don't know. I feel like the soundtrack was a bit more like banging when you're in the middle of a big dog fight and the ship's knocking about all over the place. If like there was some bit more of a rousing score and maybe some like electro or something going off, that would just kind of get me going. But I mean, again, that's not a reason to complain about a game. That's just that'd be nice if that was there. But the voice acting was really good. It sounds great, and again, it's like there's nothing much really that I can complain about. Like I say, it looks incredible, absolutely phenomenal. Especially when you when you get to a bit where there's lots of stuff going on. One of the best looking games, I reckon. That's out at the minute.
Yeah, I think, and going to the sound as well, sort of music aside, the punchiness of some of the weapons, especially later on once you've like upgraded them and got new ones, is just I can't describe it. Like the Gatling gun, when you rattle off rounds like nothing, or the laser when it's just a quick fire, take out all the shields, or like you said with the missiles where it shoots off God knows how many, like 6, 7 at a time.
And
the sound helps you feel like you're just destroying anything that's in your path.
And with the missiles as well, when they impact, it sounds like they're going off in the distance as well, like how you'd imagine. I don't know, not that there's any bombs going off in Listgard, but if you heard like loads of like explosions off in the distance, it sounds like how it should sound to you. Great.
And I had the like graphics card hard crash, I think twice during my playthrough. The only other technical thing I had was quite a few of the cutscenes towards the end. I didn't really have it at the start. They didn't have any sound that would play. So luckily I had subtitles on, so I was able to read like the dialogue. But I think that might be a problem with quick resume with it.
Maybe,
most of the time I was playing with quick resume, and then I moved the Xbox, so obviously I had to like turn it all off and all that. Played it again a couple of days later, and the cutscenes were fine again. So I was like, might be a quick resume issue more than a chorus itself sort of issue.
Yeah, I don't think I've had that. But I've been putting my headphones on. No, that makes a difference, really. Fair enough. Yeah, I had that.
Yeah, apart from that, it was a bloody good space combat game, I'd say. I think the majority of people would enjoy this, especially if you are absolutely craving a space combat game, because they're quite far and few between, like nowadays. The only thing that I could think would put some people off is if you really want like a story heavy like space opera sort of game, then you're not. This is very much a gameplay focused space game instead of a big sprawling lore sort of thing, which you just won't find in this. But if it's pure space combat gameplay you're after, don't think you're really going to find anywhere better than Chorus.
No, and I agree. It's I wasn't even looking for a space combat game. It's not really a genre that I really enjoy. So it took me a bit of time to get into it. I found the story at the beginning quite plodding, and so we've had our issues with the way it's delivered. But so once it got hooked into me, I've not been able to play anything else. It feels like a proper arcade video game where the focus is on having fun. So it's on Game Pass. I would have paid if I'd bought it. Would have been more than happy. I mean, that's kind of how I judge games now. If I'm happy to pass money for it, heart's money for it, I should say. But yeah, I think it's absolutely brilliant. But I don't think many people are playing it or finishing it. So it's been out on Game Pass for a while now, and like you said, it's been out since November or December last year. But lots of the achievements I'm getting now are rare, which kind of tells me that lots of people haven't really been completing it, which is a shame because it's like a bloody good video game.
Yeah, it's not overly long. I think you probably get around like 12 to 18 hours. I'd say the majority of playthroughs would be for this. So I don't know why many people aren't sort of completing it.
Yeah, maybe it's because it's not like a flashy title. And also like the achievements as well. I hate it when a game has a real like tough achievement that kind of feels almost impossible to get. But these all feel pretty achievable. Obviously, not without effort. Let's say I've probably got about 600G out of it at the moment. I've not finished yet. Which I hope is a kind of a new game plus, so I can go back and polish them off, because it is that that good. It's very rare that I actually want to go and do that with the game, but it's so much fun. I'd love to go into it and do it again. What do you reckon they could, if they were going to do a Chorus 2, what do you reckon they could do to ramp it up a bit?
I would say gameplay wise, just pretty much expand on the abilities. The main bosses, I would say, would be the thing that needs the biggest improvement for gameplay, just because I much more enjoyed the sort of like mini boss capital ships than I did the actual main bosses in the game. I didn't think they were overly fun with the design of them. Other than that, just focusing on story, I guess, like being able to craft and expand the universe a bit while being understandable. And that would be perfect. Yes. I also wouldn't. I would love a novel of this universe, just like explain things more.
Yeah, for sure. I think I would like more ships, because I know obviously that the point is you're with Forza, the Forsaken is your ship, but you have bits where you're in like a much bigger Spirit class ship, and those bits are really cool because it's just like, there you go, it's like a minigun section in a like a first person shooter or something. I think it'd be quite cool to have like different styles of ships, and I'd like to have the like the world like built out a bit more. So maybe you're fighting, and the only thing that in my head right now that's popping in is like you're fighting over like something like the Citadel in Mass Effect. I can just imagine like you're flying in the skies above skyscrapers and things like that, because I know you had all like these enclaves and things like that where, you know, there are people that are there that you're there to save, but it never really felt to me that there were people there. I mean, I know obviously we're knocking about outside because you're in space, but they just felt like floating bits of metal rather than like bustling cities. So it'd be cool to like have some instances where you're like a bit, you know, you're a bit more down on the ground and kind of fighting over places just to kind of ramp up how epic it could be. But again, it's not nice to dream.
We'll find out if depending how well it continues to be received.
They do one actually. I'm going to give it a quick Google. Chorus 2. No, it's telling me about a water purifier, so maybe I'll look again. Again a bit later.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching our review of Chorus. If you enjoyed the review, and even if you didn't, be sure to give it a little like, leave a little comment about what you thought of the game if you've played it, and also hit the notification bell to be reminded when all of our episodes are there and the podcast episodes premiere, which is every Monday, 7:30 PM BST. Not saying the rest. And yeah, give our videos a watch with your water purifier while you're waiting for Chorus 2.
Drink loads of water in a minute, it's effing boiling. Stay hydrated.
It's so hot. We're recording another video as well after this.
Pass out.
And most importantly, don't forget to keep on watching
and keep on gaming. Yeah. Do it.
Do it.